So for some somber news here in pro-life Missouri, this coming from Jefferson City AP on October 1st, ex-governor calls for clemency for Missouri death row inmate. Ex-governor. Former Missouri governor is urging the current occupant of the office to grant clemency to a convicted killer who is days away from facing execution. Democrat Bob Holden was elected in 2000, served one term. In a commentary for the Missouri Independent, Holden notes that he supports capital punishment in principle, evidenced by the 20 executions that occurred during his time in office. But Holden writes that Republican Governor Mike Parson should halt the execution of Ernest Johnson, scheduled for 6 p.m. on Tuesday at the state prison in Bonne Terre. Holden writes that he concurs with advocates who say Johnson is intellectually and developmentally disabled. The U.S. Constitution prohibits the execution of the mentally disabled. And as of this article, Governor Parson was still mulling it over, right? So then, on October 4th, Missouri governor denies clemency to death row inmates, and this is also going to be covered in this article. Some words from Pope Francis, but let's just jump right into it. So Missouri Governor Mike Parson on Monday declined to grant clemency to death row inmate Ernest Johnson, despite requests for a mercy from the Pope, 2 federal lawmakers, and thousands of petition signers. Johnson, 61, is convicted of killing 3 convenience store workers during a closing time robbery in 1994. He's scheduled to die by injection 6 p.m. Tuesday at the state prison in Bonne Terre, 50 miles south of St. Louis. The state is prepared to deliver justice and carry out the lawful sentence Mr. Johnson received in accordance with the Missouri Supreme Court's order, Mike Parson said in a statement about the decision not to reduce the sentence to life in prison without the possibility of parole. The lawful sentence. We'll get into that. Jeremy Weiss, Johnson's lawyer, said he was very disappointed by the decision. We believe we made a compelling case to him that it was the right moral decision. I guess he disagreed. In a letter last week to Parson, a representative for Pope Francis wrote that the Pope wishes to place before you the simple fact of Mr. Johnson's humanity and sacredness of all human life. It wasn't the first time Pope has sought to intervene in a Missouri execution. In 1999, during his visit to St. Louis, Pope John Paul II persuaded Democratic Governor Mel Carnahan to grant clemency to Darrell Meese just weeks before Meese was scheduled to be put to death for a triple killing. In 2018, Pope Francis changed church teachings to say that capital punishment can never be sanctioned because it constitutes an attack on human dignity. Catholic leaders have been outspoken opponents of the death penalty in many states. Weiss said executing Johnson would violate the 8th Amendment to the U.S. Constitution, which prohibits executing intellectually disabled people. He said multiple IQ tests and other exams have shown that Johnson has the intellectual capacity of a child. He also was born with a fetal alcohol syndrome, and in 2008, he lost about 20% of his brain tissue due to the removal of a benign tumor. More on that. So hopefully they obviously it didn't go so well for Ernest Johnson. So we'll get into that. A Missouri man was put to death Tuesday for killing 3 workers while robbing a convenience store nearly 3 decades ago. An execution performed over injections from racial justice activists, lawmakers, and even the Pope. Ernest Johnson died from an injection of pentobarbital at the state prison in Bonne Terre. He silently mouthed words to relatives as the process began. His breathing became labored. He puffed out his cheeks, then swallowed hard. Within seconds, all movement stopped. In his written last statement, Johnson said he was sorry and have remorse for what I do. He actually wrote a letter. He said he loved his family and friends and thanked those who prayed for him. Johnson was pronounced dead at 6:11 p.m., 9 minutes after the dose was administered. Corrections Department spokeswoman said 4 relatives representing all 3 victims were present. Johnson's witnesses included relatives and his lawyer. No relatives spoke after the execution. Well, there were 59 demonstrators gathered on the edge of the prison grounds. It was the first execution in Missouri since May 2020, and just the seventh in the U.S. this year. The state moved ahead with executing Johnson despite claims by his attorney that doing so would violate the Eighth Amendment to the U.S. Constitution, which prohibits executing intellectually disabled people. Johnson had a history of scoring extremely low IQ tests dating back to his childhood. His attorney also mentioned he was born with a fetal alcohol syndrome, lost about a fifth of his brain tissue when a benign tumor was removed in 2008. The Pope made his request. So yeah, it's crazy. I think this article also makes reference to the pentobarbital. Police officers searching nearly. What's about the crime? Nope, that's about it. Yeah, one of these articles that I pulled up here actually makes reference to the pentobarbital. I guess they were concerned that it would have a reaction with his missing brain tissue, which would actually cause seizures. You know, the reason that when we do state-sanctioned executions and they use the methods that they do is to execute, convicts, convicted of these type of crimes, or, crimes that would lead to the death penalty, in the most humane way possible, right? It's state-sanctioned executions are not there to be torture. They're there to be quick, efficient, and to deliver justice, as it were, right? So the governor made reference to this being legal. Well, we already know that Governor Mike Parson is not necessarily the best friend of the law, despite years of being a law enforcement officer himself. Again, I've actually covered on this show, or rather my YouTube channel, about how the unemployment benefits that were slashed, the very act of that, using an executive order by the governor to slash unemployment benefits for folks across the state of Missouri, that goes against the Missouri Constitution or revised statutes, and the creation of a, not only unemployment benefits here in the state of Missouri, but also goes against U.S. federal code regarding unemployment. Remember, cronyism is the word of the day. Well, so I guess that's just one more notch in the belt of Governor Mike Parson having no regard for, Missouri state law, federal law, certainly not any regard for the U.S. Constitution or, the sanctity of life, right? The party of law and order, pro-life. Look, you be the judge. Don't take my word for it. But let's take a look here. This is actually from Catherine from Merck TV, posted Ernest Johnson's last statement before his execution on Tuesday. And for those who are only catching the audio, I'll read it to you. I'll read it to you as it's written, or the best I can. It says in pretty decent handwriting here, I am sorry, and that's sorry with two O's, SOORY. I'm sorry and have remorse for what I do. I want to say that I love my family and friends. I am thankful of all that my lawyer, and that's lawyer spelled capital LAWER, has done for me. They made me feel love as if I was family to them. I love them all. Lowercase f in for all the people, so that was after a period, lowercase f, for all the people that has prayed, and that's prayed for me. I thank them from the bottom of my period. Assuming meant bottom of my heart. I love the Lord with all my heart and soul. If I am executed, boy, you got that word right though. Boy, he knows how to write the word executed though. Jesus Christ. If I am executed, I know where, and that's WERE, I am going to heaven. If I am executed, I know where I am going to heaven. One sentence. Because, missing the E at the end, I ask him to forgive me. That's forgive, 2 words. I ask him to forgive me. God, assuming that's everyone, but it's missing the Y. Wit, W-H-I-T, respect, Ernest L. Johnson. But, of course, he was in his right state of mind and was perfectly, humane for Governor Mike Parson to refuse clemency. Did the governor break the law? I don't know. Does he kind of have a history of this? You'd be the judge, right? Boy, this guy just is unstoppable. Absolutely an unstoppable menace to humanity. Wow. I thought it was just a nightmare and a debacle to have him be the governor of the state of Missouri, but yeah, when you're pissing the Pope off like that, I mean, this is the kind of cruelty that would make Martin Luther, turn over in his grave. I'm just saying. So let's just jump into some real quick comments from Governor Mike Parson, because you know Mike Parson loves his Twitter. It's like his best friend, right? This is from Governor Mike Parson. Well, it says 8 hours ago, but this was posted back May of 2019, May 15, 2019. But from Governor Mike Parson's own Twitter, it's time to make Missouri the most pro-life state in the country. Are you freaking kidding me, guy? Thanks to the leaders in the House and the Senate, we are 1 vote away from passing one of the strongest pro-life bills in the country, standing for life, protecting women's health, advocating for the unborn. Ah, man, come on. Thanks to decades of conservative pro-life leadership, Missouri recently hit an all-time low for the number of abortions. We've gone from a high of more than 20,000 in the state. Blah, blah. I can't even with this guy. Look, it was weird before to see the sheer lack of humanity coming out of this guy's mouth last year, when he was saying things like, oh, well, if you're afraid to get out and vote, you should probably just stay home right before an election, right? Stupidity. But now, again, he's allowing for his lapdog, Eric Schmidt, to sue schools because they want to put mask mandates to keep kids from dying, which I don't know if anybody heard, but they just had a kid who died back in August that just got published. I think it was either KY3 or the News Leader had just published about a child who had died from COVID back in August that just got published like today, or on August 6th, right, or October 6th, whatever month it is. They say if you know what day it is, you're not busy enough. On October 6th, I got published that there was the first child who died of COVID in Greene County, right? So, if they were over 6 and under 18, they were in involved in the school system there. But this guy's just letting his lapdog go around and file suits against schools because they can't handle their business, and then talking about the party of pro-life, the party of law and order, and meanwhile trying to put together legislation to prevent the federal government from controlling what he and they operate. I can't even with this guy. That's one thing. This is a whole new level of stupidity and cruelty. But hey, if you voted for him, that blood's on your hands too. But we're gonna take a quick break. I'm gonna get some coffee in me, and we'll see you then.